In short, there are two ways that you can approach the pricing of your yoga classes. One is to research what those around you are charging and price accordingly. Two is to charge what you need to in order to cover your costs. Both have advantages and disadvantages. In this episode, we'll break each approach down and you can decide what will work best for you.